Hi, my name is Lindsay Zier-Vogel and I am the author of Letters to Amelia. It is out September 7th and I am so excited for you to read it. The book explores Amelia Earhart and different facets of her life through letters. I have been fascinated by Amelia Earhart for years. I read a biography of her many years ago and I was transfixed not by the details of her disappearance, which many of us know about, but of all these other facets of her life. So that she had a clothing line where she would make blouses out of parachute silk and pants out of cloth that they'd stretch over the wings so that she could fly easily, that she was a social worker in Boston at the Denison House, that she was the aviation editor for Cosmos. So I was really taken by these facts about her, these parts of her story that are not generally publicized. I'm also really fascinated by letter writing. So my grandmother and I wrote letters to each other for years. Years and years and years, by the time when I wasn't even writing, my mom would transcribe the letters from my grandmother for me up until I was in grad school and I was still writing her letters and she would be writing to me. So letters are really powerful to me. There's something about opening up an envelope. There's something about the intimacy, the directness of the object of a letter. I love letters so much that I have a community art project, and since 2004 I've been getting people to write letters to their communities, letters about things they love in their communities and hiding them for other people to find. So letters are really important to me. This book explores letter writing, of course, and the connection and the intimacy that can come through letter writing, through reading letters, through letters that we write, through letters that we read. I think it's about that sort of physical reality of what a letter can bring to your life. Especially in this, hyper digital age. So in the book, Grace is the main character, and the book starts and she is reeling with grief. Her partner of 7 years has left her, and she can't make sense of the world that she's living in any longer. She works at the Rare Book Library, and she shows up at work, deep inside of her grief, and her boss hands her a box of letters and says, "We've just found these letters. No one's ever read them before. They are letters from Amelia to her lover, Jean Vidal. And you are tasked with writing the synopses and eventually digitizing them, and we'll sort of publish them eventually." So Grace, as she's dealing with her heartbreak, begins to piece Amelia's life together, and as she's doing this through these letters, she also begins to piece her own life together. Eventually, she finds out she's pregnant, and then while she's pregnant, she begins writing letters to Amelia to find connection, to find solace in this bewildering world that she's in. In her third trimester, a bunch of things are happening. So the letters that she's been working on are going to become public, and there's a search party that's going to look for Amelia's remains in an island in the South Pacific. So all of these things are really distressing for Grace, who has such an immediate connection to Amelia, and she goes searching for Amelia herself. So thank you to Book Hug for publishing this, to my editor, Meg Story, who is just a miracle worker. She's incredible. I'm going to read to you a section from chapter 11. So Grace has just come back from Newfoundland, where Amelia did 2 of her major flights. One from Trapassi, where she flew, she was just a passenger, but she was the first woman to fly across the ocean, again, as a passenger. And then from Harbor Grace, where she was a pilot, and she was the second person to fly across the Atlantic after Charles Lindbergh. And it was a very monumental flight. This is the section I'm reading from. It's been 4 weeks and 2 days since Jamie left, but in the morning time falls in on itself, and the band-aid of St. John's and being called Ducky and Pat's lilting accent rips off. Everything feels raw, and Grace is alone with the loneliness that roils in her gut. The air is humid and thick, and she starts sweating before the screen door slams behind her. One of her bike tires is flat, and it's too late to find the patch kit, so she walks to work, wishing for the hills of St. John's instead of the flat stretch of Harvard Street. In St. John's, every house near the harbor has a concrete anchor in the basement to make sure it doesn't slide down the hill in a big storm. Bob told her that on the drive to the airport. She thought he was joking and waited for him to wink in the rear view, but he didn't. She can't imagine living in a place where the winds are so strong they could drown a house in the harbor. Grace is waiting to cross the street when it hits her again. Jamie's gone, and she has a house sliding down the hill. The moment she sees the huge concrete peacock of a library, her limbs feel instantly lighter. She's relieved to be back where there is structure and routine and to-do lists. She's even looking forward to the pile of indexing she didn't get to before she left. The elevator door is almost shut when Janice calls for Grace to hold it. Grace really wanted to take the 10-second trip in silence, but her hand is already holding the doors open. "You're in early," Janice says, shoving her umbrella in her purse. She asks how Newfoundland was, and Grace gives her the Coles notes: lobster, ocean, colored row houses, and the moose signs. She doesn't mention Trepassey or Harbor Grace. She doesn't mention going alone. "And now back to the letters," Janice says conspiratorially. "Send me a few synopses by the end of the week." The door of the elevator opens to the reference desk. "Sure, of course," Grace says, wanting to get back to her desk and reread the Trepassey letter again, now that she's seen that long finger of ocean pushing into the town. The Harbor Grace letter, too, to see if there was anything about clover growing on the airfield. As soon as it's quiet, Grace pulls out the cardboard box from her filing cabinet. Trepassey was stark and barren in that beautiful sort of way. The accents were wonderful. I was there. I saw it, she thinks. She pulls out the next envelope, thick cream-colored paper, and is careful to mark where she pulled it from with a slip of paper. "Dear Jean, that was a most wonderful Saturday. It truly could not have been more perfect, even with the rain. Let's do it again, shall we? The weekend of the 24th? A.E." Their love seems so clear, so clearly encompassing, it makes Grace's heart ache against her ribs. She and Jamie never wrote each other letters, not once. Emails in the early days and texts, and sometimes a heart or a smiley face at the bottom of a grocery list, but that's it. Grace glances at the framed photo of her and Jamie at her desk. It's from her parents' farm in Saskatchewan, and the blue sky stretches endlessly above them. She angles it away so she can't see it, and turns to her computer to look up at a photo of Jean. There's an ease to his stance, one hand in a pocket, a huge smile, and Grace can almost see him breaking into laughter. She's got 3 more minutes before her retrieval shift, so she pulls out another letter. So this is Letters to Amelia. It's out September 7th, and I'm so excited to share it with you. Thanks so much.